Hey, Shalom, Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKodash. Double honor to the head apostles, bishops, elders of great millstone that rule well, and Shalom, true brothers in the highways and byways, doing the works of sin and faithfully, continually fighting that good fight of faith, Lord willing. We are in that number to be delivered. All right. So this is an article that came from Express US and by Maria Valaroyo 4 days ago. And I like the heading. This is what caught my eye with the heading, because a particular scripture came to mind once I read this heading. All right, and it reads, Nuclear D-Day as Putin reveals date when Russia will exit atomic treaty with U.S., right? Now, if anybody remembers back in 2010, when this atomic treaty, aka STARTS, came into effect, it was to limit the amount of nuclear weapons each country had, right? So let's go here real quick. Let's go here. All right. So again, it's also goes by START. All right, and it says the new START treaty signed in 2010 by U.S. and Russia. Right, so there was no other country involved at this point, because not a lot of them had a great arsenal of nuclear weapons. And this is why the treaty was put in place, that both countries had to adhere to it and couldn't make any additional weaponry with nuclear capability. All right, and it says, I'll start from the top. The New START treaty, signed in 2010 by Russia and U.S., is a strategic arms control agreement that limits both countries to 1550 deployed strategic nuclear warheads, 700 deployed strategic missiles and bombers, and 800 total strategic launchers and bombers. All right? So when they pretty much mapped this out, they mapped it out because of each country could have went down the route with unlimited, right? So, but you got to look at the whole picture here, right? Why would these countries decide to get together and say, we're going to put a limit on it? They must know something. They must know something that the rest of the world doesn't know. All right? So in essence, if you're only allotted to have, 1,550, deployable nuclear warheads, therefore the less damage that can be done when these weapons are shot. All right? And that brings me to the thought. When Ronald Reagan made that speech back in 1984, addressing the nations, he said if there was an outside entity that came and, it was a threat, he said what? We would have to put away our differences. Now think about that for a minute. Why would he say we would have to put away our differences? All right? So we understand and know that from that point, Yahweh Shai was going to come in the future. Right? So he understood and knew that. And this is why he said, if we were faced, and I'm roughly paraphrasing, if we were faced with some outside entity, who was he talking about? He was talking about the returning of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, because it goes right along with him saying we would have to put away our differences. Now here in the last days, what? All these countries have an issue with America. And this is the time period which Ronald Reagan was talking about back in 84, about putting away their differences, right? Damn near every country on the planet has an issue with the U.S. Now, mind you, this treaty was a treaty that was set up to limit the amount of weaponry each country has, right? So I'm going to hold it there. Let me jump back over. And it says, Nuclear D-Day as Putin reveals date when Russia will exit atomic treaty with U.S. So now that you know what that treaty is, what does that mean? What does that mean for Russia? Now they can make unlimited amount of nuclear missiles and weaponry. Unlimited. Right? Which then goes right in hand with Revelation 9 and 16. Let me get it. And I'm going to get right to the point. It says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them. Right? So what is that 200,000? That's 200 million missiles, man. So now that the press gate is going to be open again, the stockhouses are going to be reopened to build these nuclear missiles. So therefore, the prophecies are falling right in line. Everything's coming together like a well-oiled machine through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Because America knows, all right? America knows that its destruction is coming. And how do they know that, right? They understood, and they have always known who the men of the Lord were, who the Lord's chosen was. So think about that. If they understand who the Lord's chosen are, right? They must understand that their end of their rulership is right around the corner. You can't sit here and destroy your people and try to wipe them off the face of the earth. That when you read the scriptures, you read about what these people have done against their power to go into captivity in the first place. All right? You just didn't happen to stumble upon this rulership, the ability to rule, and decide that, wait a minute, these people got dark skin. Let's go get them. No, you understand who we are. And this is why you're going to great lengths to try to wipe out the children of Israel. All right? So with that being said, let's get back. Let me read a little bit of this. It says, Russian President Vladimir Putin said Monday to Moscow would adhere to nuclear arms limits for one more year under the last remaining nuclear pact with the United States that expires in February, and he urges Washington to follow suit. Okay? And he's giving you, some advice. Get your shit together, because when this shit starts pounding, you better have enough artillery to pound back. It says Putin said that the termination of the 2010 New START would have negative consequences for global stability and could fuel proliferation of nuclear weapons. Right? Proliferation. To avoid provoking a further strategic arms race and to ensure an acceptable level of predictability and restraint, we believe it is justified to try to maintain the status quo established by the New START treaty during the current rather turbulent period, he said in television remarks. Therefore, Russia is prepared to keep adhering to the central quantitative limitations of the New START treaty for one more year after February 5th, 2006. All right? So again, at the end of the day, what's going to ultimately happen? The Lord is going to raise up these nations at the end of the day. And whatever is in that arsenal, they're going to be used. So Russia is a pivotal key country, as we always read in the scriptures, that's going to lead the nations to destroy Babylon. Right? Jeremiah 50:9. For lo, I will rise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrow shall be as of mighty expert men. None shall return in vain. You see? So again, let's keep it on the level of how they have identified who we are as a people. And the beautiful thing about all this, the Lord is now putting the spirit on all of these heathens to come up and start asking questions about, well, wait a minute. Why are you hating these people just for the color of their skin? There's something about these people. They're a special people. This is what these heathens are saying. They're making their videos, because the Lord is now stirring up the pure minds, all right? And they're asking questions. Damn near everything out there is now stemming around who the children of Israel are. All right? So again, these nations that are going to come up against America, Babylon, by the north country, Russia leading the charge, and set themselves in array against her. So all these nuclear weapons that have been made in this world are going to be used. Ronald Reagan knew it back in 1984. Donald Trump knows it here in 2025. So these kings of the earth, they know what their bottom line outcome is going to be. You don't think they read Revelation, excuse me, the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter? You don't think they've read that? You don't think they've had their top scholars on that to try to decipher what that was actually talking about? And once they came to the understanding that it's talking about this place known as America, what do you think their next move is? Try to wipe them all out. Wipe everybody out. All right? But Yahweh Shem Yahushai is bad, boy. He ain't going to just roll over and let these devils do what they think they're going to do. Obadiah 1:7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. All right? Now, if you're making a treaty with somebody, you have to be at peace with somebody. If you're making a treaty, because that usually comes with a handshake. Once a man shakes a man's hand, the deal is sealed. Right? Technically. So as it is written, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee. America was at peace with you, but that nation from the north country, which is Russia, is going to prevail against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound unto thee. There is none understanding in him. And that's those other nations who America has paid and, became allies with, sent aid there, sent military, weaponry there. And this is why it says, and they that eat thy bread have laid a wound unto thee. Because ultimately, all these nations are going to turn on America. You see? So the things that we're reading and the things that are happening is prophecy. No one's going to be able to stop this. Jeremiah 15:14. It says, put yourselves in array against Babylon round about. And here's the key point. All ye that bend the bow. So all these nations who will have nuclear capabilities by the time this third world war starts, they're going to what? Shoot at her. Spare no arrows. 200 million of them are going to be dropped down to Babylon the Great. And this is why it's read that way. Spare no arrows. Meaning don't leave anything in the silos. Don't leave anything left. So you may say, oh, we're going to keep these for a rainy day. for she hath sinned against the Lord. So the Lord is going to make an utter end, an utter riddance of Babylon the Great by means of these thermonuclear missiles. All right. And it's beautiful because now that Russia, Vladimir Putin said, listen, we're going to adhere to the STOP program for one more year, 2026. And he told America, you better do the same. However, once that time period, that clock, hits 12 o'clock, February 2026, it's over. Russia's probably going to go into hyperdrive. So we're living in some very beautiful times right now. And I say that to the hopeful elect, those whom the Lord has chosen. Because not everybody's understanding what's happening. Not everybody's privy to the mysteries of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Not everybody believes the words that the Lord has spoken. All right? So we're here, brothers. We're here. We're here. Now we got to buckle down and really tighten it up. Keep in mind, the Lord is going to, keep his promise. He's going to keep his promise that we will be protected in that time, that he will watch over us in that time. Okay? So with that, it was just a quick one. I'm going to end it there. But Lord willing, I'm going to see you brothers in another one. I'm going to say shalom.